But hi everyone, dzień dobry. Is that right? That's it. Sorry for my Polish. I'm sorry. I'm Oliver Chopping. I'm the writer and director of forthcoming feature film Ticking Crocodiles, and I'm working alongside Piotr Sobocinski Jr., who's arriving this evening, and working with the ARI group on feature film Vision. And I'd just quickly like to thank our producers for allowing us to use some of the material for us guys to use this week. And a huge thank you to Slavomir Idziak, legend, and Marta and B and everyone from Film Spring Open for bringing me over from France and looking after me so well. The quick story, that the last time that I came to Poland, to Warsaw, I was flying from Paris, and on my plane was another legend of Polish Franco cinema. Any guesses? You might have seen the picture before I came up. Any guesses? You win a prize. Any clues?
No.
I'll give you... Polanski. Yeah. You win a chocolate. Yeah. So Polanski was on my flight, and the night before in my hotel and he looked like that as well, staring at me. Yeah, the night before in my hotel in Paris, I was watching Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which he features in quite a bit, and I saw this as a bit of a sign from the gods of cinema that I have to try and talk to him, in this flight. And we were sat opposite each other on the plane, and he was in such a bad mood as well. He was not happy. So I desperately I tried to think of someone that I may have worked with or that he'd worked with, and I'd worked with Ewan McGregor in theatre back in London, in Shakespeare. And I said to him, Roman, I know Ewan McGregor. Obviously, you know. Of course I know Ewan McGregor. He's in my film. And that was kind of he was in a really, really awful mood. And then the flight sort of continued. But we had a brief discussion. And at the end, I told him that I was coming to Warsaw to do camera testing with Piotr Sobocinski, and who he knew his father, and we were coming off the plane and going to meet our drivers, but his driver wasn't there, and my driver was, and he was very confused because my driver had a sign which said Professor Chopping, as a joke from my producers. For some reason they called me Professor Chopping when I arrived, so he was very confused about that. I said, Roman, would you like a lift? Your driver's not here. Would you like a lift anywhere? No! And off he walked into the night. I think he thought I was going to kidnap him, maybe, or take him to America. I don't know. But that was my one and only meeting with the legend of Polanski. Now, Slawomir's asked me to say a few words about the project, Ticking Crocodiles, as this will be my feature film debut as a writer and director. And we thought it would be really helpful to provide a little insight into the process and the journey from the first blank page on final draft to where we are now. So a brief summary of the film. Ticking Crocodiles is essentially a screwball comedy. And if any of you are unfamiliar with that term, screwball comedy is primarily films in the 1930s and 40s, that kind of genre of film. For example, we see here Howard Hawks' His Girl Friday. And the dialogue is very, very fast-paced, and it's very, very witty. And there are farcical situations involved. It comes down to there's a romantic theme. It's a battle of the sexes, and that's essentially a screwball comedy. So films like His Girl Friday that we have here, Cary Grant, Rosalind Russell. We have Some Like It Hot, which is a real classic example of that. There we with Marilyn Monroe, obviously, Tony Curtis. So our film centres on two main protagonists. They are two Hollywood leading actors who, incidentally, they absolutely hate each other. And they are working on a film. It's Jimmy Wade and Charles Vandenberg, our two lead actors, and they are playing Captain Hook and Peter Pan in the first ever live-action version of Peter Pan, which is completely fictional, something I just made up. They're then sent by the studio to travel to France to the first ever Cannes Film Festival in 1939 on a kind of bonding road trip on that. And they're sent on the Queen Mary with this boat, which this boat still exists, actually. It's in dry dock in the United States. And it's a hotel now, if any of you know it. But that was the party boat that all the Hollywood actors would travel over to, from New York over to Cherbourg in France, and then down to all the festivals. So you can imagine all the parties and everything that happened on that. So we created some AI images just to show you for the film. So the first one is Jimmy and Charles arriving in France in their open-top Aston Martin. They encounter Nazis through this journey. They encounter a lot of different things, beautiful French widows. I'll go back on. This is our AI image of our Nazis who are stealing the wine from them. Can you recognise any of the two faces that I've used actually for inspiration at all? It's Dolph Lundgren and Robin Gibb from the Bee Gees, who I thought had quite a sinister look to him. So a Polish French widow as well. This is the well-known actress Agnieszka Grokowska, who's going to be doing that role for us. And they encounter some quite naughty gypsies on the way. This character here is Inigo, who is the world's most famous voiceover artist for MGM, for Warner Brothers. So he would re-record all the great movies, all in different languages, tons of different languages. And my inspiration for him is Orson Welles. We will be shooting primarily down in the south of France, in Antibes and Provence. And the interiors we are going to be shooting on sound stages here in Poland, in and around Warsaw. So, obviously Piotr Sobocinski Jr. will be our DOP, alongside a cast. That includes British actor Greg Wise here, who we can see in Netflix The Crown. I don't know if anybody know that, about the British royal family. Here playing Lord Mountbatten. He'll be playing Charles. For Jimmy, we are talking to Orlando Bloom. He has the script and the pitch deck currently. Also, possibly Rafe Spall, who is Timothy Spall's son, the great actor. And Draco Malfoy, a.k.a. Mr. Tom Felton. So these three are very interested in playing Jimmy. We're just deciding on who's cheapest. Dame Emma Thompson, double Oscar winner, will be providing us with a fantastic, hilarious comedy cameo, playing a drunk aristocrat at a hotel bar who spits cashews all over the place and then passes out on the table. And there they are together, husband and wife. And we have, obviously, Agnieszka Grokowska and Paulina, I hope I'm saying this right, Gawodska, who will be playing Tinkerbell for us in the Peter Pan flashbacks. There. So, a very brief description of how I've got to this point. A bit of my background is I've always been kind of obsessed with cinema from a very, very early age. I think my earliest memory was being taken out of a cinema, crying my eyes out, watching E.T. At about 4 years old. And then a few years later, I don't know if you remember Tim Burton's Batman in 1989. I loved that film so much. In the cinema, when I watched it, I went home and tried to storyboard the entire film from memory that night. I didn't succeed in finishing it. And my parents kind of found me fast asleep that morning. But I was then awarded a place to this school, which is Haileybury School in Hertfordshire. I was awarded a full art scholarship, so it's drama and music and art. And some of my fellow students and contemporaries there were my friend Riza Aziz, who is the CEO of Red Granite Productions, and he produced The Wolf of Wall Street with Martin Scorsese. And another fellow student who was in my house is this gentleman. I've forgotten his name. He's done a few films, but a small budget. Chris Nolan. So he was we all stayed in the same classes and slept in the same area. It's kind of like Hogwarts. It was kind of what it was. But our evenings, our film evenings after we did our homework were very interesting with these guys, and he liked to watch Bruce Lee movies kind of back to back, and it was a very interesting time. And the student films that he made of us, we still, he still has them. We haven't seen them at all. But I'd like to get my hands on some of the things that he shot with us. Yeah, so that's circled. That's where we all lived. I then was awarded a place at RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London. There I was, as a very fresh-faced, handsome young lad, and studied there in the theatre. There's primarily Shakespeare that we did in RADA. Then I had 25 years of theatre and TV and film in England, and the Old Vic Theatre. Kevin Spacey was my artistic director there, which was an amazing theatre. Really did some great productions there. And I did a few nice cinematic roles. Phantom of the Opera, directed by Joel Schumacher, the late great Joel Schumacher. He was a wonderful director. I met my first day on set in Pinewood Film Studios. I was very, very, very nervous, and he immediately saw that, like any good director. And when I turned up in costume, he used to direct with a handheld mic, and he went, "Can we get Ollie in some tighter trousers, please?" Which relaxed me a bit. He was a lovely guy, but he did shoot Batman, George Clooney's Batman as well. So yeah, we forget that one. Dexter Fletcher, I worked with, who's an actor-director. He recently shot Bohemian Rhapsody, the Queen film, and Rocket Man, the Elton John movie, if you know those ones. And Tommy Gormley, who is Tom Cruise's right-hand man. He's his first AD in all the Mission Impossibles, and executive producer on Star Wars, the new ones, not George Lucas, but the Disney ones. And he was working with these guys. They were very, very generous in letting me go behind the camera and see what was happening, and it really fueled my kind of obsession with wanting to start on my path to become a director and a filmmaker. And they were it's quite rare, they were very generous in letting me go behind the scenes, as it were. So there was a clip that was surfacing about James Cameron did when he was doing the press junket for Titanic, I think it was. And the interviewer asked him, what advice would you give to someone who wants to become a director, if any advice. And his answer was, I'm paraphrasing here, but his answer was quite simple. It was just, be a director. Just pick up a camera. No matter how small, no matter how cheesy, shoot something. No matter if your friend stars in it, no matter if your sister stars in it, put your name in it as director. Now you're a director. If only it were that simple and that easy. But I think the point he's making is do not wait for opportunity to come to you. You must create your own opportunities, and all aspects of this business that you've chosen to pursue. I mean, that said, any tiny opportunity that does come your way, grasp it with both hands. For example, I'll show you on Monday, my friend Daniel Tute, who's in Game of Thrones. I don't know if you know that actor in that series, but he rang me and on Monday and he said, "Oh, I've been offered a tiny part in Alejandro Inarritu's new film shooting in London. I've turned it down." And I said, "Why? Why have you turned this down?" He said, "Well, the money's not great. I have one line, and it's shooting in London, and the travel's too expensive." I said, "No, you need to go back to your agents and say yes to it, because it's the experience. It's having that on your CV of an amazing director." He said, "Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I will. You're right. I can't turn down stuff at the moment." And it turns out that Tom Cruise is the lead in this movie, and he's going to be acting with Tom Cruise and doing a big scene with him. And it's really grasping those opportunities when you can. I told him off. Yeah. So, with James Cameron's words ringing in my head at that time in my life, I then convinced my heavily pregnant wife to sell all of our possessions and for me to make my first short film. She didn't need the engagement ring. Anyway, it's fine. We needed real money. So I wrote the screenplay. I hired a minimal crew. It was a 2-week night shoot back in the UK in the winter. It was really just raining constantly. We shot it on a brick, like Nikon D40, I think it was, with black magic software. I composed the music and performed the music for the soundtrack. Did the edits whilst my wife was in labour. And then we entered it into Cannes Film Festival, and it was accepted into Cannes Court Métrage that year. So it was just that easy. Really, no, it wasn't. It's not easy. It wasn't. It was very, very, very hard. But despite just how tough the shoot was with limited resources, the whole experience for me was quite invaluable. It's the thrill of watching something tangible and real on screen that came from just a flurry of ideas was very important to me, and I was hooked. And the next step was to start on my first feature. So go big or go home, as they say. But instead of going home, I moved to France instead. So there's a still from it. I'm about to get run over. So in France, the seed of the idea for Ticking Crocodiles started 2 or 3 years back. I had originally been inspired by this book that I had been given called Wine and War. And it recounts the true stories of the famous wine houses in France during the Nazi occupation, and the lengths they go to protect their precious wines from the plundering German army and the wine furers who were confiscating the best vintages and shipping them back to Berlin. And in that book, the author mentions another publication, which is Le Maître de la Maison, the master of the house, from the cellar to the table. And this is a very, very special book because it was written by Roger Ribot, who was a prisoner of war in Austria, in Offlag, in Offlag 17, I think. And it's in the book he writes, this Christmas of 1940, on this Noel, I had begun to write a little book in the effort to dispel some of the sadness that we're living with and share some of the hopes we cling to in our captivity and returning to our homes and loved ones and the values we hold most dear. And in this book, in the camp, he makes a list of all the great wines that he's ever tasted and the great meals he's ever, and pairing them together, and he writes them on every scrap of paper that he could find. And it's a beautiful, beautiful book, and that was another inspiration for me. And I thought I have to buy a copy of this. I just need a copy. I went on eBay and I found a copy for €2, and it arrived in the post. And it's the original. It's the original, one of the original that he signed to. He gave a copy to each of the people he was in the camp with, and signed it. And that's written to the doctor he was with in the concentration camp. So it's a very, very special thing, and not €2. I don't think the person who sold it to me knew what he had, but beautiful book. So I had bought this house near Bordeaux, which had been used by Germans as a base, judging by the graffiti we still have in the house, which is etched into the stone walls. I had far too much land to know what to do with, so I planted myself a vineyard there to decide to make my own wine. And just with talking to the locals there about the winemaking process, I would learn stories from them about how the French used to hide all their wine. And a lot of it was very, very comical and quite amusing, how the French would try and hide their best vintages and their precious wines. For example, they would actually they would submerge their wines in lakes, in the ponds, in the big chateaus, and whilst all the Germans were getting rid of all the crap wine, and they'd be noticing that all the labels were floating up into the top of the lakes, you know, and they would also bury their wine and completely forget where they'd left it. And these kind of amusing stories, they really came to me, and I started to sort of think, well, you know, this should be more of a comedy in the way that is, you know. All these kind of wines that they buried, completely forgetting about it, which is not unlike also squirrels. Squirrels. This is the funniest thing I love this about nature. Squirrels can't find 80% of the nuts that they hide, which I think is, I love that. So I just had to put a picture of a squirrel in there. So I digress. I've always been fascinated by this particular era of filmmaking. So 1930s to mid-1940s, primarily kind of those war years. And I was especially interested in the process from black and white cinematography through to glorious Technicolor. And I discovered some very rare footage from this film, The Adventures of Robin Hood, some behind-the-scenes footage, and also from The Wizard of Oz, that we all know. And I think we all know here this very memorable scene where Dorothy walks out of her monotone black and white Kansas home into the Technicolor world of Oz, and literally in this one small scene was a huge step in the evolution of film. Just as the artist here depicted the move from silent pictures to the talkies, so Oz did. It took the audiences literally through the monotone door into a world of dazzling colour. So combining these two worlds of movie making plus adding the war aspect, I began to pen the screenplay. And originally I had wanted to use Errol Flynn's the Adventures of Robin Hood as inspiration for the film. And literally with actors playing Flynn and Basil Rathbone here. But I also wanted to include the first ever Cannes Film Festival. But at that time, that was 1937, and I wanted 1939. It was Venice Film Festival at the time was the go-to place for all the Hollywood stars to open their new movies. But that year, these two gentlemen were on the jury of Venice Film Festival, so Hollywood, for some reason, didn't really like these guys. So they boycotted. Everybody from Hollywood boycotted it, and the first Cannes Film Festival was made. So I started to think about other possibilities, film stories that I could use instead, and this brought me to Peter Pan. And it worked perfectly because I could still have a middle-aged man in tights, as you see here, and it also had the two warring protagonists, but this time Hook and Pan, not Robin and the Sheriff of Nottingham. And as I researched the idea further, I discovered these wonderful stills here from Disney's animated Peter Pan, and they would use the real-life models for the artists to sketch. And this element of behind-the-scenes filmmaking gave me the idea to use this as a kind of storytelling aid for the audience. And the pivotal theme of Peter Pan is about never growing up. And that time is ticking after us all. And this fitted perfectly with the timing of the outbreak of World War II and the knowledge that, for the characters in the film, time was ticking after all of them. So, some great images there of that movie. And Tinkerbell. So you can see how the screenplay idea evolved, and I think it's a very helpful aspect to discuss with the creators of projects where they initially started from and what inspired them. This is essentially the DNA of the film and can help your fellow filmmakers understand the vision and how to create it. So, there are two main protagonists in the film, two aging, egotistical Hollywood movie stars from the golden age of Hollywood. There's Charles Vandenberg here, a kind of Niven style, David Niven. And then there's Jimmy Wade, who's a washed-up Texan child star, Hollywood child star. But for Charles, I'd always envisioned like a Hugh Grant type actor, maybe Colin Firth, quintessentially English, quite theatrical. And one evening, my wife was watching Ang Lee's Sense and Sensibility on Film 4, and there's a very famous scene where Willoughby here carries a very soaking wet Kate Winslet back up to the house, and my wife said, "Well, what about Greg Wise? What about Willoughby?" So I thought, yeah, he's absolutely perfect. How do I get in contact with him? And I just Googled his agents. The next day, I rang them. I pretended to be someone very, very important. And I said, yes, hi, this is Oliver Chopping. I have this screenplay for Greg Wise. Please get it to him this evening. We'd like him to look over it over the weekend, and he'd be absolutely perfect for it. And just I thought nothing of it. I thought there's just no chance. And my wife and I were kind of laughing, thinking, can you imagine if him and Emma Thompson were just sitting at breakfast, really laughing over this screenplay? Can you imagine? Anyway, I forgot all about it. 4 days later, I get the message from his agents. Greg would like to have a Zoom chat with you. We had a Zoom chat, myself in France and him up in Scotland. And he said, the first thing he said was, "I'm in." I went, "Really?" Yeah, I'm in. And, oh, by the way, he said, the Dane and I were pissing ourselves laughing, having breakfast, reading your script the other morning, having a cup of tea. And that was a very special moment for me because not only he said yes, But Dame Emma Thompson, not only being an Oscar-winning actress, but also an Oscar-winning screenwriter, and her reading the script and really enjoying it kind of made the 3-4 years of constant writing and the giraffes and, you know, the 5 a.m. starts whilst my 4 children were in bed so I can get a bit of peace and quiet writing. It made it all worthwhile. And, you know, they're very, very lovely people. They like a good drink, yeah, as you can see. There she is winning her Oscar for Sense and Sensibility. I'm going off to see them next week up in their place in Scotland, very, very happy that they're both on board, and they're both great actors. So with them coming on board onto the project, then the ball started to really roll with other people coming on board, i.e. our producers. And different cast members. That's the thing with it. Once you get a name on board, then things can start to really happen. Our producers are Hacker Films, which are based in Warsaw, and they're a very young, dynamic production company. They were involved with EO, with the Oscar-nominated EO, quite recently. They're working on the new Chopin epic right now, currently in Bordeaux, where I've just come from, where Piotr's brother Mikhail is the DOP on that. They're a fantastic team. We're also working, because I live in France, we're with my local film institute, ALCA, and ALCA helped produce Anatomy of a Fall. Have you seen that one? I think won the Palme d'Or and an Oscar as well, I believe. And also English involvement with the BFI as well. So it's quite a European production. I say European, not England now, but so getting back to the film, cinematography-wise, we want to return to that golden age of Hollywood. And we'll be shooting some of the flashback sequences of the making of the Peter Pan film. And our 2 lead characters are supposed to be shooting this movie. And these will be shot in a sumptuous kind of film noir black and white, using vintage lenses, we hope. I wanted I spoke to you before about it, but I wanted to shoot it on film if possible, but that's a big cost, and it might be possible. We don't know as yet. And I want to create a more mature, slightly edgier, darker look to the Peter Pan that we're usually familiar with. That childish kind of. I want to look a bit darker, because in these scenes we're taking a step back from the action. And instead of just watching the scene, we're watching the scene being made. The audience gets to see the actors play the characters, and not just the characters themselves. So we'll have a very sultry, cigarette-smoking Tinkerbell, for example, in these scenes. And the Lost Boys, the adolescent Lost Boys, they're more like middle-aged men, as they've been child actors for so long. And Peter Pan's shadow will be played by a retired dancer. So the flashbacks to Peter Pan help set the audience, develop an emotional attachment to the characters, and the use of film noir style adds a sense of foreboding. The audience becomes aware that they're being led somewhere, that something is coming. This is in contrast to the main action, and the main action will be set on the Côte d'Azur in the south of France, and this will have almost a very Technicolor retro colour palette. This is Hitchcock's To Catch a Thief, with Cary Grant and Grace Kelly, and this is a constant reference for the look that I want for the main action. This is obviously a little bit later than 1939, so we're talking maybe 50s here. But it's imperative to me that the audience feels that they are watching a bygone era. For this film, it's not just enough for just the costumes or the set design to convey this. In terms of the script, The comedy is very modern. And it's I want the contrast of an older looking film with modern humour and dialogue. So there we are, there's Hitchcock himself. Some beautiful shots there. And as obviously we are down in the south of France, particularly in Provence, the colour palette is very important. This part of the world is instantly recognisable due to the light. Very soft, earthy tones, warm, earthy tones. It's very different to the world that the two lead characters are coming from at the start of the film, which is on a Hollywood film set. This is essentially their Neverland, and needs to have a slightly otherworldly feel to it. So there we are. So there's the man himself, Mr. Sobocinski Jr., and which I love this photo with his kiddies, because I have one very similar. So we send to each other. He's a real master of his craft, Piotr, and the moment he read the film, he just completely he got it straight away, and he immediately visualized that world that I created, and he called me up the next day and said, "Yeah, I've got to do this." And yeah, I love this guy. He's a genius at what he does, and luckily he's become a very good friend of mine, which is great. He also has a wonderful singing voice as well, so just ask him. He'll do some. It's quite a high soprano. I know, I'm joking. That's my little one. So I'll start to wrap this bit up. But seriously, I think take every opportunity, but also create your own opportunities, because in this business, no one really gives you anything. No one will tap you on the shoulder and say, "We think you're going to be the next Janusz Kaminski and Sławomir Iziak or Piotr Sobocinski Jr. Here's an Ari Alexa, go win a Palme d'Or." The Showbiz Commission, yeah, they don't really exist. But you know, it's in my experience thus far. I think it's very simple. It's about how much you put in to what you get out of it, effort-wise, and how much you sacrifice and dedicate to this chosen craft, and usually for very little financial gain, I guess, at this moment. But it's not a 100-meter sprint. It is a marathon, and it's about pacing yourself and playing the long game with it. A friend of mine was working on 1917 with Roger Deakins here, Sir Roger Deakins, and he said that there's so much pressure he feels for young people your age to feel that they have to succeed at a certain point. You know, have to have shot something, to have directed a film. You know, at 21 or and I'm only 24. You know, that was a joke. Yeah. It's been a hard life. But the thing is that I think you have to have life experience to bring to your work, and that makes it more interesting, whether you're a cinematographer, you're a writer, a director, a prop guy, art director. It makes your work a lot more interesting. And the thing I love about this medium, it's 100% a collaborative medium, which I think is great. We're all a lot of people who are just passionate about storytelling, the wonderful medium of storytelling. Just trying to do the best we can, really. And as Denis Villeneuve recently said, which I think is very, very true, surround yourself by people who love film, not themselves. I think is a true thing. So anyway, I will stop rambling. I hope you found some of that vaguely interesting, slightly amusing. I apologise for the squirrel, the photo of the squirrel. I just thought I just had to put it in. We cannot get the pitch deck up because that's on a separate thing, but we'll go through that a bit later on. I'll open the floor to any any questions or anything you guys might have whilst we're here? Do you have any questions about the project? Yes, sir. With the glasses. Hey. Can you speak up a little bit? Oh, Babylon? Yes. Yeah. Well, I think Babylon is it's a whole different style of cinematography. I think for that, you know, we want to literally for this film to look like it's been, the reels of film have been discovered in the vaults of Warner Brothers or MGM and just dusted off, and they've never been opened, they've never been seen before since. It's like a lost film. In a way, that's our aim. That's what we aim to with, and it needs to have that gritty cinema, because Babylon's quite, you know, vibrant and fresh, and but I'd like this to be as gritty and as possible. Literally, like it's been discovered. It's a, you know, in the vaults. Yeah. Yes, Brad. Yeah.
Very like classical way of filming. And
yeah.
Basically do something like, from what you said, I really like it's like, I don't know if you've seen Empire of Light.
Empire of Light. No, I haven't. No.
Movie,
Oh yeah.
It's like about cinema. And basically, like you want to basically make a film like a very film for filmmakers who love filmmaking.
Right. Yeah.
And just make it as real.
Absolutely. I want to strip it back as the filmmaking process as much as possible. I literally want to go back to exactly how the methods that they would use, and you know, and I originally did think about can we source cameras from that era? Can we, you know, shoot, especially the black and white Peter Pan stuff. Can we do that? You know, but I absolutely want to, you know, the hard lighting. I want it to be as genuine to that bygone era as possible. You know, that golden age of Hollywood, and we'll try and do that as best as possible. Yeah, I think that would suit the project, to, you know, perfectly for that. Yeah. But I need to watch that movie. You must write it down for me.
Very classical, but it's like a fairy tale for cinema.
Oh yeah.
Like a cinema-based cinema.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, I'll look at. I will Google it. Anyone? Any? Yes, sir.
There's a microphone maybe to be used.
Oh, is there a mic? Thank you.
The short films and then the long form. And I wanted to ask you more about your collaboration with Piotr.
Yes.
How did you guys get along? From what you said, you became friends.
Yes.
Pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I admired the script from the very first stage. But can you delve deeper into your process of creating the views, like the visual idea behind it, and like what were the steps after agreeing to start working together?
Yeah. Of course. Thank you for that question. Yeah. Well, we were introduced to each other from Tomek Morowski, who is the producer for this, from Hacker Films, and I think he had worked with Mikhail before, Piotr's brother. And I think this was actually sent to Mikhail Dymek? Michael Dymek? Sorry, yeah. He was very interested as well, but schedules, there were issues with something, and Tomek then sent it to Piotr, And like I said, Piotr immediately he got the whole. He said he was just looking for something like this. He's never shot a period comedy. He hasn't done that genre, and he's a big comedy fan. And specifically, he was just incredibly interested in my ideas for the visuals. He's always wanted to shoot on black and white. And originally we were talking about shooting the entire film in black and white. And then we had to change our mind. We were sort of talked out of it by the producers, who said, it might be a bit too boring. You're going to need to break it up a bit, and also it would be a shame because we'd lose that beautiful light in France. It's why all the best artists in the world ever went to paint down there. It's for the light, So it was Piotr's idea really to use this form of Technicolor footage and break it up. And I said to someone the other day, these Peter Pan inserts, they sort of break everything up. It's like a palate cleanser in a food term. It really just keeps it keeps the audience alert and it's visually very interesting and dynamic to us, to Piotr and I, to have these two sort of juxtaposing styles. But he was, he came up with the whole the Wizard of Oz type glorious Technicolor was far too vibrant, far too just in your face, too gauche, and we wanted to soften it a bit and get it more into that bit later 1950s kind of style. Was a little bit softer, and that South of France kind of vibe, and we think it works really well with modern comedy. It seems to work. So, but he's been brilliant. He's been absolutely brilliant, and thank God he's kind of my right hand man in it. I feel very, very fortunate. Yeah, but thank you for your question. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the short film was literally. I had a crew of about 3 people. I was one of them. It was like I said with the James Cameron thing. I had to go and do something. I had to shoot. I've been talking about it for so long, and it was and it was, to be honest, it's a bit of a cheesy kind of, it's like a Bourne-y kind of thing, right? You see that picture there? It's like Jason Bourne if you order Jason Bourne on wish.com, you know what I mean? But it wasn't really about. I didn't want to win an Oscar for it. I just wanted that experience, and it was it's just so invaluable. Just and doing so many different roles. I had, I was a spark on it. I was this. I was that. My wife was doing. My wife was about to give birth, and she was doing the effect, the makeup, and the gunshots, and she was the caterer for all of us, and and it was really. It cost us nothing really at the end of the but it was so invaluable. It was so invaluable to, and then just doing that took us places. It got us to Cannes, and I drove down there in a battered old car, and saw it premiere down there, and it was an amazing experience because I very rarely saw that when I was working as an actor. I very rarely saw what was really going on behind it all. And also, I learned on the job. I learned I edited the whole thing. As I said, I composed the soundtrack and performed that. And just all these factors that made me respect, that side of it a lot more than I did as an actor. I didn't really, as being an actor, you're so egotistical, just thinking about yourself. Oh, does my nose look big? And get these lines out, and it was invaluable. It was invaluable, but a great process. I thoroughly recommend it but not in England in the winter at night. And we got arrested as well. We got the police. Yeah, we were driving. I had this thing that you stick on the car for the camera. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, but no, you like a cheap one which you stick on with suctions. So we had the Nikon D40 on that, and we were going back over this very famous bridge in Blackfriars Bridge in London, and then a tunnel. I love shooting in tunnels, and back underneath the tunnel, then over again, and the police. Yeah, we got in trouble with the police. We were and we had a fake gun as well in the car for the shot. But it was great. It was a great experience. Yeah.
I just wanted to follow up how you went from the final render to Cannes nomination. It's like a bridge to cross, right?
What from the final edit?
Yeah.
It was. To be honest, it was pretty straightforward. I mean, I did it all on a shitty iMac, but back at my house, on is it Final Cut Pro? I think it was. And that I just completely learned on the job, and I color graded it. My friend had downloaded me some kind of quite basic grading software, and to get the real a more kind of very bluish kind of night feel to it, and primarily it's all set inside a car, and I was so it was that was quite tricky, but. After everything was done and I was kind of happy with that cut, we just thought, well, why not? Fuck it, let's go and let's put it into some competitions. Well, let's do the best one. And bizarrely, it's just it worked and it got in. But it was I'm proud of it. I mean, I look back at it now and it's like, oh, it's cheesy, it's a bit shitty, but. That's not the point. It's just like I did it, I sort of told myself I was going to do it, and I did it, and now kind of because of that, I'm here talking to you guys, and from that little film. But like I said before, but it's like seizing the opportunity and just going out and just doing it. Really picking up a camera. Yeah. Anything else? Anyone? Yes, sir.
And how do you think your previous experience as an actor influences the style of your directing? Are there any particular things that give special attention to because of this experience in acting?
Now, being previously an actor, going to the dress. Yeah.
I guess it makes you direct differently.
Well, it does. Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting because everyone I've told who's going to be in this movie, all the cast, I said, because I'm primarily from a very theatre background, so I did a lot of theatre shows in London and the West End, like Phantom on stage and everything else, and I like to rehearse my actors like we're going to do a theatre show, and actors really love that. They love the rehearsal period. Of like 2 or 3 weeks of just like we were about to go and do a full on stage performance, and all the actors I said because a lot of actors doing TV and film, they don't get that chance to properly really rehearse unless it's like a massive budget and you've got it's in the budget, you've got the time to do that. But for this, we're all going away for a bit. We're all going to go and to everyone's coming to my house, and we're luckily I've got the space to be able to. We're going to literally do it as a stage show, rehearse it like a stage show beforehand. Yeah. But Piotr. Yes, for sure. Yeah, for blocking and everything. Yeah. Piotr will be there for all of that, and he will drink. My cellar will be empty as well, and my fridge. But I think it's such a good way to direct actors for this process, and they're really open to that, and they can improvise a lot as well, and more material will come. I'm very open to more material coming from improvising the script. I'm not one of those screenwriters who's like, no, my word is gospel. That's it. You can't change a thing. I like that because like gems really come out of the improvising as well. So hopefully some new stuff will come out. Yeah.
While on set, do you think this experience of yours influences how you talk with the actors and so on? Because it's not that often. Like there is not a lot of directors, actors.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting for me. What was important for you when you were on the other side, and now how you use this experience?
I think I had quite a lot of bad experiences. And the ones I've spoken to about on this talk were the good experiences with Joel Schumacher and everybody else. But a lot of the TV directors and a lot like the TV in England, I was in shows like a Casualty, which is like a hospital show, and soaps and things like that. The directors they just didn't care. They just didn't give a shit about the reality. They just had to. They had their time was everything, and just come in, do your job, blah blah blah. And it was very impersonal. We never really got a chance to properly rehearse for stuff like that with the TV bits, and so there were some pretty grim experiences with especially TV directors on that. So for me as a writer as well, it's just, for me, I just hand over the parts, not mine anymore. To these guys, it's just that this is yours now. I've set this. I've written the first line. You come up with the next of your character, and I'm very open to that. I'm not. I'm really controlling with my actors with that. And I think they prefer that. They're more comfortable, and then better stuff comes out of it. That's the thing. For the actors to be really comfortable on set, that's when the magic kind of really comes out. So I let them go free rein sometimes. Yeah. Yes. Go on. I think you had.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask whether you have your own wine brand now.
I do. Yes, it's called Chateau Rosebif. Because in France, because I'm English, the French call us les Rosebif. So it's but it's named after my children. So I have Chateau Mirabel, my daughter, Manon and Rena Chateau. Yeah, other different and Etienne, my son. So that they're all the names of my wine.
Combining wine and cinema.
Yeah. I chose wisely for this film. So the crew will be happy. There'll be lots of drinking. Anybody else? Yes.
First of all, thank you so much for the presentation.
Pleasure.
My question is there any idea for the work plan for the upcoming days when film spring open? We know, if I remember correctly, Sir Sobocinski is coming later today.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the next step? What are we supposed to prepare for mentally for the upcoming days?
Yeah. So Piotr messaged me just before this. So he'll be here at 7 tonight. He's going to give you all a talk first thing tomorrow about exactly what his plans are with you all, because we're going to be divided into groups. Did you get any of the screen? I sent to B the sides, so she'll email you today with those bits of the script. We will be divided, I think, into a few groups, but he wants to concentrate firstly on grading. So I think he wants to really talk to you about the Technicolor aspect first, and then the black and white flashbacks. And as I said before, we're looking to go to the Opera House in Krakow to shoot some of these black and white bits, the Tinkerbell bits, and but he'll be here and he'll let us know. Yeah, everything. He'll have a clear schedule for you. Yeah, no problem.
And the sign-ups, I remember yesterday you gave our numbers.
Yes.
Is that all we need to be signed to the group?
I gave all those to be in the production office, and she will sort everything out for you. And she'll email. She should email you very, very quickly for that. Yes, ma'am.
How do you know that your screenplay is done?
Oh, we never do really, because you never know when it's finished. Because I'm still fiddling with it. It's like a painter, just can't stop going back and just finishing. And then you got to be really careful, because you can fuck it up. Your art, your painting. If you, so the producers have told me to stop, stop fiddling. Yeah. Because I have sort of said, we can do that. This would be great if we shove this in. This could be really funny. But no. It's kind of I don't think it's ever. I don't think it's ever really done. It's difficult because it's kind of like your child as well. It's very difficult to sort of because it's not mine anymore now, and it's all been optioned and the producers have it and everything else. It's so I have to ask their permission before I do anything on it, But I think the simple answer is it's never really finished. But you do have to kind of just step back sometimes to get that, okay. Because you could just go on and on and on, and be a 15-hour film. Like it could be for me, Ticking Crocodiles, the marathon. It's tricky. It's tricky. But I still, like now, I was looking through, I was like, God, I might add a joke here. I might add a squirrel in this bit, hiding his nuts. I'm forgetting what? Good question. Anybody else whilst we're here? Yes, sir.
I have a question about producers.
Yes.
And if you said it's going to be worse when you have production company, worse on producing stuff. Who chose who? Producers chose you or you chose producer? And relationship, and why you chose and why you decided to work precisely with these production companies and stuff. And also, you're from Britain, live in France, shoot in Warsaw.
Yeah.
Kind of is about this co-producing.
It was very peculiar because it all started with another cinematographer called Mateusz, because he's going to be our second unit, head of our second unit, and I had listed on a thing in England. It's called Mandy Actors. Basically, it's for crew and things like that, and I wanted a cinematographer to have a look at some of these ideas that I had. And he was the first person to answer the message that I put on it, and through him, I got in contact with his agent, and his agent in Warsaw is a good friend of Tomek, and she said, "Well, this script is great. Tomek might like this. He's just set up this new, very young production house, and he's looking for his first feature." And I was like, "Well, okay, I want to do my first feature, so." Maybe there might be something there, and he looked at it and he was like, "I'm not sure. I don't really get it. I don't. This is big. This will be quite a big film. This is a big budget. It's period. Could be tricky. What do you think, Piotr? Who's his friend?" And he's like, "Yes." Piotr was like, "Yep. Let's do it. I'm in." Because he sent it to Dimet and Piotr, but Piotr was just like, this is right up my street, and that's how it was just really actually quite lucky, just pure chance that we all sort of came together, but I like it because it's like I said, it's a real European thing. We've got a lot of English actors and English finance. We've got French. In Bordeaux, we've got everyone here, but I prefer over here. Working over here is a nice vibe. It's very stressful in France. It's hard. It's hard. They make things very difficult for but no, they're good. They're great. They're really up and coming. This Hacker Films, and I think this hopefully, fingers crossed, this film will put them on a different level, you know. But yeah, good people, very good. Yeah, thank you for your question, man. Anyone else? Whilst we're here, I'm sorry that I couldn't show you the pitch because it's on a whole separate thing and we had technical issues. But if anybody's interested in the pitch deck that we've given to all our actors, Orlando and Emma Thompson and everyone, and we used it at Cannes this year for investors, because Reza, who funded Wolf of Wall Street, will be coming on board. I'm going to go and see him in Malaysia very soon, and we just sent that off to him. So if you're interested in that, do let me know, and I will try and get you a copy of the pitch deck, because it's probably quite interesting and useful to you. Are you? Oh, really? Oh, okay, good. Okay, yeah, because it's all. I just can't. I can't get it up on. This is not my computer, but I will get attachments to that to you then with the pitch deck, so you can have a good look through. Is that right? Marvelous. I'm sorry if I'm very English, so if I was bumbling like Hugh Grant does, you know, which everyone does say, so you know, just stuttering like Hugh Grant. But I hope you kind of you enjoyed some of it, the lecture, and you have a bit of a clearer idea of where we're going with the film and everything. And I thank you for your time. Thank you for coming and listening to me. I really appreciate it. And anyone wants to, I'm going to go for a coffee, possibly a quick cigarette. And if anyone wants to ask anything else, I'll be in the cafeteria for a coffee. All right, guys. But yeah, and Piotr, as I said, he'll be here very soon, so we can all crack on. Today, yeah. I think it's going to be tomorrow. I think tomorrow morning, fixed time with all of us. And the opera is tomorrow, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But he's writing the schedule right now, so he'll have all the. Yeah. He'll get. B will email you everything that you need, and I'll talk to her about this pitch deck so you guys can have a good look. Is that all right? Marvellous. Thank you for listening to me. Cheers, guys.